Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast blood.
What's up, gang? Welcome to the G.R.I.N.D. Simon Arias here. Get ready, it's a new day. What's up, gang? Welcome to another episode of the G.R.I.N.D. Get ready, it's a new day, and I got my man, my friend, Dillon Weston in the house. What's up, Dillon?
What's up?
Welcome to the Grind Factory. We want to introduce Dillon to all our listeners and viewers today. Dillon is not only a friend of mine, but he's overcome extreme adversity in his life, and I think you can benefit from how he's been able to get through some of these things. Background in wrestling, been wrestling pretty much his whole life, and did some MMA, absolute beast on the mats. And so let's start off, Dillon, with giving some folks your background. Where were you raised? How were you raised? And a little bit of background on yourself.
Yeah, so I'm from Western Pennsylvania, small town, Lower Borough, Pennsylvania. I lived there till about 5th grade. My parents weren't really ever together. So up until 5th grade, life in Lower Borough was great. So it has a very strong wrestling background.
Okay.
They're on their 14th WPIAL title. I believe it's 14 straight. So WPIAL, if people are listening out of town, that is just our district. WPIAL is our district. So very strong wrestling background, very strong football background. My dad, truck driver most of my life, pretty tough guy, big guy. I don't know how I got so short. Well, my mom was short. I would say life was weird because they were never together, but I was kind of used to it. But my dad was a bit of a drinker, truck driver. If he wasn't on the road, he was kind of drinking. So he kind of slept on our couch.
Okay.
Domestic fights. Okay.
So when you say not together, they were living in the same house, but kind of not.
Dad was in and out of the house.
Right.
Like, Dad, what are you doing here? It's Wednesday. Yeah. He's like, Jack Daniels.
Right.
And then live with my mom all my life up until I was 13. We moved to Butler, Pennsylvania. My mom met a guy, moved to Butler, and then continued to wrestle. I've been wrestling now for 22 years. I just realized the other day it was like 22 years of wrestling.
So you moved with your mom to Butler, mm-hmm. with her and the guy that she was with,
Bob.
And how was that with life with Bob? That sounds like a tough transition right there. 13 years old. As a boy, as a man, because I've been in the similar such a scenario.
So not only tough on me, it was tough on my dad because I was his boy. I wrestled, I played baseball and football all up until I was about 14 and then just wrestled the rest of the way. He was a beast at football, played semi-pro. Okay, he played semi-pro for 2 or 3 teams, Ohio Valley, Penn Hills Pythons, a couple of these different teams. Just a tough dude, but very stubborn dude and didn't listen to anybody. He should have went pro in football, just didn't listen to his agent. So it was tough on him as well because I'm moving with another guy instead of moving in with my dad. He loves me. We always had a pretty good relationship. I moved to Butler. My dad follows. Now, he's been my wrestling coach since I was a kid. They're split up. I mean, I guess I got to get into it. They had such a bad relationship growing up. It kind of brings stuff back. Like to the point, so my dad would get me on the weekends, and I don't know why, but he would like kind of drop me off, and he had such a bitterness towards my mom, and he'd drop me off, and she'd walk out, come get me from the car, and he'd be like, there she is, that fat pig, and I like that stuff. That's tough, hearing that as a kid, you know what I mean?
Torn.
I was so torn. I love my dad because he was my dad. He's tough. Love my mom because she was mom. She was so good at, man, she was so loud in the stands. And my family would like kind of sit away from the other moms. And she was so loud. God, I'm Dillon. She was screaming. So I was a mama's boy. I love my mom, but good relationship with my dad. He had some mental, I think, honestly, he had some mental, like I've never seen a man snap over stuff that
Small
just
stuff.
small like that, like the way he did, you know. But we were close, but he had some issues. So growing up through Butler, school for me, I literally just didn't do it. Like my dad was like, "How'd you fail? Because you still went." I failed because I didn't go. I was like, there wasn't any discipline at home. I probably started drinking, I was like 14 at my house with my dad.
A little later than me and Giovanni.
Yeah. Well, that's when he knew about it. Right. He was buying the cases. You know, I was drinking pretty early. I mean, I thought 14 was pretty early. Damn.
Oh yeah, Youngstown. You know, we're a couple years ahead.
Damn.
By 13, we were full blown. Go ahead and use your imagination.
Full blown.
Literally. Driving and everything.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, I did get as soon as I got my permit, I did just go to Pittsburgh that day. But anyway, so growing up with dad, where are we at? We're about 13, 14 now. Okay,
right.
Moved from Lower Borough, wrestled through there.
Struggling in high school. Not grades-wise, not doing
the only
well.
time I was so, like, I would still...
Eligible, though?
No.
Okay.
Academically, no. I wish. Academically ineligible once in junior high. They didn't move me up to the varsity because they said that I was like too much of a liability. You know, I was a good wrestler. There was a senior. I was beating him up at my weight. I didn't know if I'd be able to wrestle.
Right.
I'd be in it and I'd be like, eligible this week, not next week.
Right.
You know, until we got, there was a wrestling coach for a while at Butler, and then he was the athletic director, so I had some pull. It was nice. Yeah, it was solid. Not good for my grades or my discipline in that area in school, but solid if you want to get on the team.
Did you ever wrestle a full season?
Senior year.
Senior year.
Yeah.
All right.
Started to come around.
Nice.
So, actually, we get through junior high, 9th grade. I think it was March 10th. You know, my dad's living in Butler. I live with Mom and Bob, the stepdad. I get a call March 10th. Well, actually, it was March 11th. Woke up in the morning to my stepdad, big guy. He's crying on my bed. And I just knew
Freshman year?
Yeah, this was freshman year.
High school?
Yeah, this was freshman year high school.
All right.
Yep. So he is sitting on my bed, and I had a weird feeling all night because I didn't go to bed. I waited till my mom came home to go to, almost every night to go to bed. But this night I particularly stayed up a little bit later, and she didn't come home. It was like I had to go to bed. It was like 2:30 in the morning, so I finally was just like, I got to go to bed. Woke up to him crying on my bed. I've never seen the man cry, So, and I just knew something bad was happening, and he's just, your mom died. Your mom, rolled over in a car wreck. I was young, and like I said, I was a mama's boy, and so it shook my world. So,
freshman in high school, I mean, I can't even imagine now.
Yeah.
I'm 36.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just to go through that and have it delivered, by Bob.
Right.
That's a whole nother level of tough.
And it was right
So
up
then
the
what
street.
happened?
It was right up the street too. She rolled over, truck caught on fire, and she was almost home. Okay. So then from there, honestly, I wanted to kind of stay at home and live with Bob for a bit. I wanted to because I was scared to live with my dad.
Yeah.
I
loved him, but I always wanted to
drinking
go
on the weekends, whatever, but I didn't want to live with him.
Yeah.
I couldn't take the aggression, like the bipolarness.
Yeah.
Consistently, you know what I mean?
Well, there's that. I mean, that alone is,
yeah,
explains why you were struggling.
Isn't that weird how people mirror each other?
In high school.
You grabbed your water, I grabbed my water. It's weird. I want to be like Thankman.
You're silly, dude.
I am.
The hood Billy in the house.
I am silly. I got voted most funniest at all 4 years of high school.
Come on.
And then we'll get there.
For those of you that went to school with
there.
Dillon, I want to let you know he's still going, guys. still rolling.
Yeah.
Still funny. So what happened from there? How did you?
So we're move. Mom dies in the car wreck. I didn't realize how much it affected me. I was young. I felt like I kept it together, but she had such a good, like, I listened to her, you know, like she had me on a tighter rope than probably my dad, even though he was dad and he was the man. So from there, it's about a month after she passed away, March 11th. I move in with my dad. So I move in with my dad. Actually, speaking of when that morning when my mom died, my dad cried so hard. It's insane when I was talking to you about their relationship, and he was just kind of crude to her, and everything, because deep down he loved her so much.
No doubt.
He bawled his eyes out, and it changed his life. It changed his relationship with me, how he treated me, who he missed. Like, it was just insane. So for all you men out there, if you're trying to fool yourself into thinking some girl you like is mean because she don't like you or whatever, just roll with it. Be okay with that. But anyway, so my dad, I wanted to put that out there, and he's just bawling. I never seen that. And then for some reason I was crying, but I hold it back because I saw all these people crying around me. My grandmother, my mom's mom, was just she just lost her baby girl, and my pap just lost his baby girl. And
as a parent, I mean, that's got to be one of the worst things to see your child go before you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So I'm looking around the couch, and everyone's bawling. I'm just like, I'm just gonna not go. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna stay strong, so no one looks at me. Kind of looks at me, and they're like, okay, we can get through this. Dylan's getting through this. So I'll never forget that morning on the couch. Just like you lose your parent, and you're just all like, oh. So move in with dad, wrestling, relationships kind of still the same with dad, but it's better actually because he's like, I gotta step something up. The kids come to live with me now. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I live with dad. It was a fun time. I drank quite a bit. I didn't get into drugs too much. I've done a little bit here and there. Was never my thing. I think my dad scared that out of me. It wasn't, he didn't let me any way. And I just didn't really get into it. Lived with my dad for a while. Into high school comes up, and to be honest, so I think I'm going to graduate, and they're like, you're not going to graduate. You don't have enough credits. Like, graduate high school. I don't know if you know this.
Nah,
I didn't graduate high school, and I wouldn't tell anybody, but whatever. I don't care.
Just tell everybody now.
Yeah, I'm literally telling
out
the world. And my current job, I should probably hide this, doesn't know it. No jobs knew it, because I just tell them I'm blow. I never graduated. I was such a goofball in school. I thought I was too cool to get credits. Like, I was like, teachers like me, they're going to pass me.
Yeah.
Literally came up to the end. They're like, you don't have enough credits to graduate. I was like, well, I'm not going back.
So safe to say college was out of the question.
Yeah. Okay. And I had letters for wrestling. So senior year I did good, but it was too late. So many credits. I had a girlfriend.
Now, what's good?
As in, I got through. I was academically eligible, so for me that was good.
Made it through.
Yeah, made it through. Whew. It was tough. So I got through, and so obviously there.
So what'd you do after high school?
I went straight. I went. The school that I didn't graduate. The next year, like that next wrestling season, I was a wrestling coach. Remember the athletic director. Liked me. Yeah. And I was good at like coaching and good at even though it was right after high school, I saved up money from there, and I was like, well, I was like, what would I want to do as work? And I was like, well, I don't really like anything but wrestling and making people laugh. So I was like, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. So I was a stand-up. So I started going down to Pittsburgh and doing these open mics. Me and my buddy would talk about it in high school. So we go down and, I went to these open mics, and then he moved to New York City, went to college right after high school. I was like, cool, see you, man. I'll be here in Butler trying to figure something out. He started doing the open mics, and then around New York City, I went and visited him, did one or two, actually got a manager, someone he knew.
So you were doing stand-up comedy in New York City?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I moved out about 6 months, a year after high school. After this girl cheated on me that I liked, and I said, I'm out. And I was really running a bunch. So this whole time I was running from something, I was running from a bunch of stuff at home.
Right.
Dad was like, okay, go ahead. You know, I don't know what you're doing. He wanted me to obviously be on the railroad or something. He didn't understand sales. He just pick up a shovel. That was, you know. So I move out there to New York City, and I'm doing stand-up comedy, and I'm just on stage, and it was fun. I was having fun, but I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I didn't really write too many jokes. I would just get up there and
freestyle.
I made people laugh. Like, it was good. And, but then I had this urge to just come back in the town. I just didn't like the city life like that. I don't know if you can tell, I have a mullet. So I'm a hood Billy.
Yeah, Hood Billy.
Yeah.
That's the nickname.
Hood Billy. I came back to Butler, and I was like, I want to wrestle again. So I was doing this comedy open mic on Mondays. I started one in Pittsburgh when I moved back. And then I wanted to wrestle, so I moved back to I would do this comedy open mic, and then I started sparring on Mondays right before the open mic. I started drifting away from the comedy. I was like, I don't really like this stuff. You know, I didn't really want to do it. I felt wrestling pulled me back in. Always been a part of my life since I was 5 years old. And then so I started fighting again, or wrestling again, which led me into, it's like after high school with wrestling, it's like either you got to go to college. It's not really a pro level. You kind of have to just make it to the Olympics. So then there's not really much of a path. There's not a pro path.
Continue on the wrestling.
Yeah, so MMA is kind of the path to go from there. And then so from that, I started wrestling. So I started doing a couple grappling tournaments. I think I've won them all that I've been in except one. I got DQ'd. That match was great. It was 20 minutes long. And I got DQ'd because I slammed the guy, but I really didn't. But anyway, so I did well because Isaac, my trainer, is really good at, you know, he's kind of coaxing you into getting a fight, right? So I did the grappling matches first.
Won them all.
Yeah, I won all my tournaments except one, and I got DQ'd. And it was a great match. It was 20 minutes. I was up against this dude from Abu Dhabi. I don't know why he came the whole way over to here, but he did. And then, so I got my first fight, MMA fight, and I won. That's when I was like, I'm done with comedy, and I literally
went full tilt.
Full tilt.
Yeah.
Like, I never went into something so hard, but so I kind of skipped the thing that was really important. So I had these two girls. I had two relationships. One when I was younger, but it was of 6 years, and it was during when my mom died, and the breakup was really hard for me. I kind of felt like I lost another mom in a way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that 11th grade, it was tough because she really was like a big part of my world. And then I lost her. She kind of broke up with me because she realized this kid was a bum. I needed that. She literally was like, this kid's a bum and this guy's got a nice truck, so I need to date him. And I was like, well, F him, I'll fight him. That's all I had. It's like, I'm not going to get another truck. I'm not going to get a truck and have a job. I'll fight him. That's all I thought I could do. I'm not going to lie. Half my school was just scared of me. I was like, I'll fight you all. Then make you laugh, you know? And then we broke up. I got through that. And then after like high school, I was in another relationship. And then she cheated on me. So I had a rough time with these like relationships, and it really affected me, but it really started to affect my insecurity, and these kind of mommy issues started to develop. That's kind of why I moved to New York City. I was trying to run away from all these issues. I really didn't like myself. I felt like a piece of crap. I mean, I didn't graduate. Senior year, I started to grow up, but it was too late. You know, I just never felt like a piece of crap like that in my life. I needed to grow up, and so I was trying to run away. Now, in hindsight, I'm looking back at this stuff now, but then I was just like, I'll just start a new life, and it just doesn't work. Your problems go with you.
Yeah.
Your issues go with you, unless you don't take care of them.
No doubt.
And they all went with me, you know, and I had I never had anxiety. I had such bad anxiety out in New York City. Absolutely.
Hell yeah, 19 years old.
Yeah, 19 years old.
Took me a long time to get used to New York City.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the people, all the crowds,
yeah.
you know, just traffic and horns blowing and
right.
You know.
And I'm from Butler.
Yeah.
So it's
major
country,
change.
You know?
Major change.
So it was just it was tough, and so I needed to come back, and then something was pulling me back, and then I continued to have these issues. I had with this. I had it was a mental thing. I didn't even like this girl, but I had such an issue that she left and cheated on me. Like it was a fight. Like I lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I over time was like I wanted her back, but I think I didn't even really like her. I just wanted. I felt like I lost. I wanted to win.
Right.
And I want to right the wrong or something like that. I would sometimes get drunk and I'd just go walking down the street. One time I walked down the street. Sorry, girl. I'm not going to mention her name, but that I did this, but she knows. And we're okay now, but this is kind of my story. Walking down the street, south side Pittsburgh, that's kind of where you party. I knew her window was right here, her apartment. I just punched out her window and went and ran. I couldn't believe, I was in such a dark place, man. I was trying to get out. This is one of the darkest, so I finally was like, I tried everything that I know to do to try to make myself better. You know, I didn't have guidance as a leader like my dad. He would just kind of like get a job.
What point did your dad pass?
So we're getting there. So my dad passed. We're not there yet. All right. So
Threw it out there.
So, all right. Where do you want to go? Dad passed. So
How old were you?
First talk about my relationship with the Lord, how it started. Is that okay?
Before. Yeah.
It started with before.
It's your show, brother.
Yeah. Okay. I figured. So I anyway went through some adversity. I knew something was pulling me back to Butler. I started meeting up with a pastor. I was like, I finally kind of threw it. I was like, okay, Christians, it seems like they got something in them that they have joy in their lives. I was an atheist. My mom died. I was like, no, if there's a God out there and he says he's good, he's obviously wrong. My mom died in a car wreck. She just rolled over. She's died. Right. So that's kind of
that happened.
Right.
Right.
So I started meeting with this pastor. Starts meeting with me once, twice a week. I started like, okay, you say the Bible's right. Just implementing verses. I got a verse on jealousy. I'm very self-aware. So I'll be like, I realized I was jealous about some guy because he had the girl and I couldn't, whatever. Started looking at them. They started working. I started implementing into my life, what these verses were saying about who God thinks you are, who God knows you are, who he's made you to be. And then, so I get saved. I start fighting, okay? And then my dad, so I have 4 fights. My dad's loving it.
After you get saved.
Yeah, after I get saved. Okay. I'm loving this fighting. I'm coaching wrestling. I'm doing private lessons. Life's pretty good. I had 4 fights. I won all 4. I'm enjoying the fight. I didn't know where I was going to take it, but I felt like I was on a good path, And my dad, my next work was kind of my dad is like, we had where we were, and I wanted him to get saved, but I can't do it for him. So I grew up an atheist. I won my dad, rough time with dad. And now though he out of nowhere recently about 2.5, it's been about 2.5, probably it'll be about 3 years ago. He gets diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. So my dad gets brain cancer. I remember how this happened. So my dad is on the porch. He's got a headache and he's just like rocking back and forth. And I'm like, we finally took him to the hospital. They find a mass on his head. The doctor says, we don't know exactly what it is right now until we take a biopsy, but we believe it's glioblastoma. And I look and I'm like, there's no way this is glioblastoma, or this can't be the bad one. I Google glioblastoma, 5% survival rate. Pretty much no one survives, and you die within 1.5 years. I was like, I wanted to fight for him. No way. 1.5 years later, my dad succumbs to glioblastoma. He dies from glioblastoma. But in that whole thing there, one of the biggest things for me that happened is, so my dad's realizing he's going to have to come to the end of his life. And you start realizing that life comes to an end. And he started going to church at first. So what they did, they took the tumor out of his brain, and then he was pretty good for 6 months. He was good. And then 6 months he's good, and then it starts to grow back. But in that 6 months, he starts going to church with me. Finally, I asked him for 4 years, once a month. I told myself I'd ask him at least once a month. I know I said no. Sometimes, most times it was more than once a month. I told myself at least once a month I'm going to ask him. He says, no, that's fine, but I'm going to continue to show him how I'm growing, okay? And then maybe he'll see that. He'll see the fruit, because I believe, Jesus comes in, Holy Spirit comes into your body, okay? And you become a changed person, okay? But not
Amen.
Not on your own will and on your own account, but he changes you from the inside out, right? So I knew God was doing a work inside of me. So I just let that continue, and I said, I'll keep inviting my dad to church. Eventually, he gets diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. A couple months later, he goes. And then he's going, and he's starting to ask me, we going to church on Sunday? My life is lighting up, you know what I mean? It's one of the biggest joys of my life. And I remind you, my dad's got stage 4. He's dying, but he wants to go. And I'm so happy. He's going, and I'll never forget this. I'm sitting there, and I'll be honest, sometimes you go and you're like, you've maybe heard the story or whatever, and I looked over, and my dad, his eyes were glued, listening to the word. I was like, that's it. I'm good. I'm so happy. Like, it was so great. And so my dad was focused in. I believe my dad was saved before he left this earth. And all the crap that I've been through, everything I've been through with my dad, I forgave him for all that, but we've had some great times. We really connected through this cancer. You know what I mean? He was coming to the end of his life. He was going somewhere, and I can't save anybody. I really wanted to see him in heaven one day. But that's when shit matters. That's what matters,
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep, no
this
doubt.
Stuff's fleeting. Like,
No doubt.
it's all fleeting.
No doubt.
But so that's how I came to the Lord. I came to the Lord, and I feel like I brought my dad to Christ. Christ orchestrates that. So now where I'm at, and that's kind of my story. And I told you I can talk about it for 25 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's deep, man. So at what point did you feel like it? You can't ever really get over those things.
Yeah.
You just find a way to move forward.
Right.
And I think to the strength that you've had and that you've shown to just not collapse. I mean, at a young age, you have both parents passed, went through a bunch of stuff, as a kid, and don't collapse.
Yeah.
Don't break. You know what I mean? People fold for less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people talk about going through adversity. I've went through a ton of adversity, but I can't even imagine that type of adversity and still being able to consistently try to help others with their relationship with God, consistently putting a smile on other people's face.
Right.
You ain't walking around moping all the time. What things, if there's someone listening out there that lost a parent young or, is going through this type of stuff right now, what advice would you give that kid or that person that's kind of in that zone,
right.
At this point to move on?
Point blank, I couldn't do without Jesus in my life. And I was an atheist. My mom died. I grew up pushing away God. But point blank, without realizing God's sovereignty, who he is, okay? So I believe, the story is so amazing of Jesus. He comes down as a human in our form and dies for us. So when people go, there's all this, there's sickness going around, there's corona, whatever. There's sickness going around, things like that. We weren't promised a good life, not a good life, an easy life here on earth. There's sin here. We're not promised that. This is what I stick to. I'm like, we're not promised anything easy here. So if you walk around moping, first of all, someone has it worse. I always think of, I don't know why, I hope this isn't rude, but I think of people in Africa and how bad they have
What
it.
a good perspective and mindset.
Every day of my
Same here,
life,
dog.
when I start whining or just feel something, I don't know what it is. I think of people like not being able to turn the lights on or still having like dirt floors. There's not a day I don't think about that. So perspective is huge. And then to me, that's like, we're not promised to be here and have I know, the electric bill's due and you don't have the money, but bro, you're not promised electric. I think of I'm glad I was able to turn on the lights, but God's brought me to here. I'll figure out a way to get this money, but it's fleeting to me. It's like, I'll get this money and I try not to worry about that. I think getting through both my parents dying before I was 25, it makes a lot of things like
not as important.
Like little, especially here in US, like we're very
blessed,
fortunate. And it's like things just don't drive me like crazy. The whining makes me like, it gets me annoyed, but like Jesus came down, died for me. I didn't die for anybody. And so like he sacrificed his life for me. So it wasn't easy for him either. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't raised up and, you know, he was killed. And so like even he came here and this world killed him.
How did you even go? You know, you talked about, you know, when you lost your mom, thinking, you know, you were an atheist.
Yeah.
So how did you open the door of your heart and the door of your mind to go from that transition of, okay, not a believer, but I'm open to walking down this path a little bit, and then you see it just caught fire, you know, from there. How would somebody make that transition, or how did you make that transition? Because in the friends that in the folks that I've come in contact with that struggle with their faith, man, more than half of them lost a parent early. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that becomes the block of what they, you know, believe. So how did you get through that, and how would you suggest somebody else move in that direction? So you try everything. I've tried a bunch. So, you know, going to the gym a lot, self-help books, this, you know, different types of maybe meditation, or buying a new something, you know, getting a new hairdo, trying to change my look. I tried all these things and they made me a little bit of happy for like an hour, and then they seemed like they'd be gone. And it'd just be like right back to like, I still had this feeling of just, I have no joy. I'm so sad. My mom's gone. My dad's gone. Like, you know, or just like, I tried all these self-help things to make you feel better, you know, diet, you know, and not saying these things are bad. I'm just saying I tried them all, and I looked at them as my hope. Like maybe this is the thing, you know, or maybe like comedy is the thing. This will get me out of my troubles, you know. I tried it all and it just didn't happen. So that's when I sat down with a pastor, and I finally reached out to somebody, and I said, okay, I hear that God is great, and all, you know, you see it on social media. I'm like, what's this all about? I'm open to it finally. And for such a long time, I wasn't open to it. Yeah. And I finally became open to it. And then I just... But you don't go from open to extreme faith.
No.
It's kind of like, I'm going to kind of walk in a little bit slow and see what happens. And so then that transition happens. Yeah. How did that
So I just go
next piece go?
So I just go on like Sunday evenings. There was just like a church group. It was just for kids. I would just go Sunday evenings. I was kind of sit in the back, and I would kind of help mentor them, but not really. Like I could sit in the back, because the guy I would meet with, the pastor friend, he was the youth pastor. So I would go to only like his services. I'll read a little bit of the Bible, start to understand it, whatever. But got into like apologetics. You know, what is the meaning of life? Why we're here? Like all like really kind of heady stuff, like deep stuff. But I really want to know truth. I want to know why I'm here. What's the meaning of life? Things like that. If Christianity is real. So my doubts kind of led me to keep searching, like, and then I'd find the answer within Christianity and following Christ, and then it made it stronger. And then I had questions, and I would ask him, and then I'd feel like I'd get answers, and then I had more questions. You know, of so many questions, and I kept finding the answer, and then that snowballs, okay, and you start to that fire starts to grow, just like with anything else, because first of all, it's the Holy Spirit comes into you, and then now you're reading the Bible a little bit more. You're starting to understand the story. You're just starting to like, holy crap, this is why I've been like this my whole life, and your life starts to kind of like the lens starts to clear up and unfog.
It's game changer.
It's an absolute game changer, man. Like you get unfoggy. You start to forgive people that you've had, what's the word I'm looking for?
Issues with
I don't know why I couldn't find that word.
Yeah.
You start to forgive people. You realize there's a big weight lifted off your shoulder.
No doubt.
You start to lose the thing that you need to be a certain way.
It's a huge first step.
Yeah.
I think for people is when they start to forgive whatever happened in their past, be it a ex-girlfriend, a parent, or somebody that wronged them, or whatever it is. When you start to be able to forgive, it really does lift a weight off of you and starts to make you become a better version of yourself, which is not easy to do.
Because when you're sitting around being bitter towards someone, it's only affecting you. They're just living.
It weighs on you.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. So when you being able to forget those two girls for breaking my heart, whatever, but that really affected me. But putting that in the past, you know what I mean? I have a lovely girlfriend now. She's great. But that was huge. Being able to forgive my dad for calling my mom a fat pig. And he knew he did that stuff. He grew from it. But being able to forgive him and realize this world, we're born into sin. I believe that. We're born into a world that's not perfect. That's why Christ was killed.
No doubt.
So my dad was not born into a world that was perfect, and that's why he had issues with it. We always have our own issues. But I didn't know this stuff, as a young kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And you dive into Scripture, and you
imagine the amount of people that you can help now.
Yeah.
Over the course of your life by all the things that went wrong with you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because you're young. You know what I mean? So to still be able to mentor others and help others, because there comes a point in life where it's like people don't really connect with people that can't walk in their shoes.
Right.
And it's very hard for them to relate to someone that has never walked in their shoes. And being that you've went through those struggles and been able to persevere, I think you're going to be able to connect with and help so many people in this life and in this world. So why don't you tell them how we met and what our relationship is right now?
Absolutely. So how we met is I walked through the door. Well, first, I knew Greg, a little bit because I was doing MMA. He's a boxer. I knew Greg. I was actually almost going into another life insurance company, New York Life. I saw the mat room, remember? And I was like, whoa, easy, I'm not going there. And I literally almost signed a deal with them, and I just came over here.
I think that's this room.
It was this room
that we turned into the podcast and video movement was the matted room.
Weston. Weston was here a couple times, and then so we started rolling together. I was in the deal in your business here. The business wasn't for me after I realized after a while, but I don't think any business was. I was I was trying to still find myself in the professional world, but. What was so cool about you is even after I was like, hey, Simon, this isn't for me. You were like, well, you still training next week? It was so cool. I thought you were gonna be bitter towards me, and I was so ecstatic. So that was about a year and a half ago now, 2 years, and we've been steady, and we've been friends,
consistently training,
consistently once a week at least. It used to be twice, but I'm working a lot more now too. So. Consistently, training. It's been great. So that's how we met. We met. One, I believe, just spiritually, we connected. We're both Christians. And then two, obviously, just wrestling, grappling, jiu-jitsu, MMA in general, boxing. You do it all. And then I've been mentored by you big time in my life. You want me to speak on that? Yeah, I've been talking.
It's your show, brother.
Brother,
I just love that mullet. I mean, the mullet looks so good with the headphones on right now. I mean, you just got it. What do they call that? It's professional in the front, party in the back, or something?
Right.
Is that what they? Is that something in the front, party in the back? But definitely got a party in the back, bro. Yeah, definitely. It works for you. Wouldn't work for me.
Yeah,
it looks good on you.
How many likes to get Simon to get a get a mullet? How many likes?
We would need a million.
Yeah, let's get a million likes.
Hey, a mullet, a million. 2 million, 2 mullets. No.
Yo, get a perm already going. A perm going. Oh my God! Evan or Brody. I want to get him a mullet.
I think we're past. I think that ship has sailed.
Oh yeah,
he
can't get one.
It's impossible. I think.
Sorry, Brody. Didn't know. Sorry. So where were we at? Oh, mentoring you in our relationship. Biggest thing for, I think I was talking about this the other day. It was about show and prove. I was talking about, I just did the thing you do. Show and prove. You do the chicken nod.
The head nod.
Yeah. And I do that. Mirroring people, man. I've learned a lot by your words, but more than anything, your actions have just met up with those. When I first got here, I was a little iffy because this was my own issue. I always had issues for some reason. I was jealous of wealthy people. And you have
I had the same issue.
Yeah.
Growing up.
And for some reason, I don't know if I thought it was just given to them or whatever. Now I realize it's through hard work, and I have a completely different view on money. I think it can be used for good, but I just thought like people were pretentious, and you changed that. So that was huge. But everything that you talk about adds up to your actions. And so I see that, and it makes it want to add up for me, but then it's just like, if he can continue on, just the way you manage your time is really neat to me. Like, I always thought that sometimes people work so much that they don't get times with their wives and their families. You know what I mean? You don't, you make sure you're a morning guy. It's every night you're with your family. Evening, not even night, 4 or 5 o'clock, you're back with your family. You grind it all day, but that's also part of your grind, and then you fit that in. And I always thought, you the way you can manage things. I'm sure it's taken time, you're still learning, but the way you have been able to manage has taught me a lot. I can still work hard and still be a good, boyfriend to my girl.
And train. Stay in shape.
And you can do it all. And so you've been a great example of that, and how you've been through adversity too, and you can still, quote unquote, make it. I don't never make it. That's not a real thing, but you guys understand what I'm saying. So you've been an example for that. You can come out of a place where you don't graduate, and you can, continue to, there is hope. You can keep going. You
just
can
to
reverse
tell you, man,
this.
that our company's last CEO, he retired two or 3 years ago. Our company's last CEO, my man Roger Smith, who was with the company for damn near 40 years. I think he's in the process of writing a book from GED to CEO. He never graduated either. Mm-hmm. So there's so much that a person can do. I did graduate from college, but I think that sometimes we're fed this fictitious, thing that if you don't go to college after, or you don't do these things, then you'll never be successful. But what I can tell you is that in my world, I would say probably more than half of the people that financially are wealthy, never graduated college and barely graduated high school. Doesn't mean that I'm gonna push my kids to not.
I don't advocate for that,
guys. Just don't graduate. That's not the road. But what I'm saying is, it's not over with for you.
You're not out of the game.
If something didn't go well, for you up, and even at this point as a young person in your life, it's like, man, you got so much left to go, and you had so much go on at a young age that kind of made you grow up fast in one area, but kind of stunted some growth in some other areas. 100%. That when those things start to pick up, I think we're going to see the very best Dillon Weston that this world has ever seen, because you got some gifts, bro. You're funny as shit.
Yeah.
You're average looking. Sometimes, like today, you put it together, bro. You about a 7 or 8. You know what I mean? Better than me. You got a couple inches on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
waist and height.
I think the assets that you have in yourself to build on, tank ass. That's my other nickname for you, tank ass. Yep. So you have all these things that you can personally build on now, and you can make it through adversity. You can make it through obstacles. You know what I mean? You're funny. People like you. You can work hard. You got discipline. There's all these things that we start to point these in the right direction, which I think you're seeing right now happening with your current employment situation. That I think the best is yet to come. I think my favorite part of us training, and I could say I've become a better grappler because of you. You know, our training, you know, when we train, it's hard, you know, we're going at it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people,
we're scrapping.
we come downstairs, you know, people are like, what the hell's going on up there? Boom. You know what I mean? I mean, we've just, you know, you've helped me with my wrestling majorly. And, but I think my favorite part of the game is at the end, you know, when we're done.
Yeah.
And we, what do we do when we're done?
So every time we hold hands and either one of us throw up a prayer. He goes, let's throw up a prayer.
Yes, sir.
And we pray together after every training session. We pray together.
Yep.
And we thank the Lord for the simple things, the air in our lungs, and just whatever we're feeling for that day. We thank the Lord.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us today on the Grindcast. I know you're probably gonna impact some people out there that no one else would have been able to connect to. So I appreciate your story. I appreciate you being open and sharing your life with us, man. And I love you, brother. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Grindcast. Get ready, it's a new day.
Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.